You know, the 2022 FIFA World Cup literally gave football fans absolutely everything. We saw these historic, bracket-busting upsets. We witnessed jaw-dropping, unforgettable goals. I mean, it was the universal peak of global sports, right? A whole month where the entire world just stopped to watch a single ball roll across a pitch. But while millions of us were celebrating the beautiful game, a much darker, incredibly complex story was unfolding far outside those stadiums. A story that packed with intense controversy, high-stakes international politics, billions of dollars, and these massive questions that simply refused to disappear. I remember exactly where I was when Lionel Messi lifted that golden trophy. I was sitting right on the absolute edge of my couch, holding my breath through that entire penalty shootout, totally mesmerized by what a lot of people call the greatest final ever played. Yet even in that incredible moment of triumph, it was honestly impossible to ignore the shadows. The magic we saw on the pitch was built on a foundation of intense, unprecedented global scrutiny. And that leaves us asking one massive, unavoidable question. At what cost? Today's explainer is going to investigate the deep politics, the unbelievable amounts of money, and the behind-the-scenes realities of the 2022 World Cup. We're going to uncover exactly why this specific tournament became, and honestly remains, one of the most fiercely debated events in the entire history of sports. Section 1, a high-stakes business deal.
Okay, to really wrap your head around Qatar 2022, you kind of have to step away from traditional sports drafts and picture a high-level corporate boardroom. Imagine a high-stakes business partnership. You have an entrenched, super powerful global board of directors, that's FIFA, being pitched by this incredibly ambitious, wealthy startup, Qatar. They basically walked into that room proposing what looked to the entire outside world like an absolutely impossible merger.
Just think about the options on the table that day. On one side, you had the safe bets, right? Countries with established mega stadiums and a deep, multi-generational history of football. But on the other side, you had the Qatar pitch. Sure, it lacked any established sporting tradition, but it offered massive financial equity and unprecedented expansion into a completely untapped Middle Eastern market. It was the ultimate high-risk, high-reward play.
But this ambitious startup had what seemed like impossible hurdles to clear. We're talking extreme logistical challenges just to house millions of fans. There were severe summer climate concerns, temperatures so intense they actually forced the entire tournament to move to the winter, and, of course, the total lack of domestic football tradition. So when the global public heard this incredibly high-risk pitch actually won, the shockwaves were immediate.
Which brings us to the suspenseful hook that really defined the next decade. Was it just about football? Critics and journalists instantly started suspecting that this unprecedented merger wasn't really about the sport at all. Allegations of backroom deals started flying, and it instantly became the most intensely debated selection in history. The world was watching, and let me tell you, they were deeply, deeply skeptical.
Section 2, building the impossible. All right, so the boardroom deal is signed. Now the startup actually has to manufacture the product literally out of the desert sand. And I really want to emphasize this. This instantly became the #1 biggest construction project the world of football had ever seen. We aren't talking about renovating a few bleachers here. We are talking about an entire nation transforming its physical geography in a matter of years. The logistical nightmare here was completely unprecedented. State-of-the-art stadium projects had to be built from scratch, complete with this revolutionary outdoor air conditioning technology. The country required entirely new transport networks, expansive metro systems, new highways, the whole shebang. And it all had to be finished under a strict, absolutely immovable deadline, with a highly skeptical world watching every single poured foundation. Section 3, the global backlash. As you can imagine, as those skylines started changing, the global conversation shifted from architectural marvels to intense scrutiny. From the initial voting debate on the day of the bid, public pushback just exploded during the build phase regarding massive infrastructural costs and intensive labor demands. By the weeks before the opening match, it was a massive clash. You had international watchdogs sounding severe alarms about rapid development conditions, while the host nation fiercely defended its unprecedented modernization and cultural sovereignty.
So, as opening day finally approached, the atmosphere was just suffocating. The entire sporting world was on the edge of its seat, holding its collective breath, basically asking one thing: would the tournament actually survive all this noise? Could a football event possibly succeed when the entire narrative surrounding it was focused on literally everything except the football?
Section 4. When football delivered drama. And then, the referee blows the whistle for that very first match. The world was totally braced for a logistical disaster, heavily distracted by all the boardroom politics, but the actual product on the pitch, it was a masterpiece. The unscripted drama immediately broke through all that noise and captivated billions of people. I mean, think back to those unforgettable moments. We all watched Morocco's historic, barrier-breaking run, becoming the first African nation to ever reach the semifinals, literally carrying the hopes of an entire continent. We saw these jaw-dropping upsets, like Saudi Arabia stunning the eventual champions. The stadiums crackled with this electric, unmatched atmosphere. And it all culminated in Lionel Messi's emotional, legacy-defining final match. The sheer quality of the sport forcefully commanded the world's attention.
It was wild watching the narrative shift in real time. Before the tournament, the global focus was almost entirely consumed by controversy and investigative reporting. But by the time the tournament wrapped up, the sheer emotional weight of the football had risen up to balance the scales. Viewers were suddenly forced to hold two entirely different realities in their minds at exactly the same time.
Section 5. Did it change football forever?
So, now that the dust is finally settled, we have to ask, did this event change football forever? Well, the lasting impact is undeniable. It set rigorous new standards for future host bids when it comes to transparency and infrastructure. It proved that unprecedented global markets in the Middle East absolutely can successfully host massive mega events. And it cemented a new reality. A sports merger like this can dramatically accelerate a nation's geopolitical visibility.
Ultimately, Qatar 2022 leaves us with a profound, really complicated duality. It is undeniably a legacy of questions that deeply intertwines football, massive amounts of money, and international politics. It was a tournament steeped in intense logistical and social controversy from the very second it was announced. Yet, it miraculously delivered what millions of people firmly believe is the greatest final match ever played.
So, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to really chew on. When you look at the incredible, purely emotional football we witnessed, and then you look squarely at the intense, often difficult behind-the-scenes reality it took to make those moments actually happen, was the cost of glory worth it? I really want to know where you stand on this one. Share your verdict below in the comments. Did the undeniable magic of the football ultimately win you over, or do the shadows of that boardroom deal still linger a bit too heavily for you? Let me know your thoughts, and hey, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more deep dive explainer investigations. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next one.